Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. To continue with December, we are playing a blue-green lands depth type strategy. We're a bit more into the depths than normal lands build. We've got 4 of each part of the combo here, and we've got protection spells like Sejiri Steppe that we can go and get with our Reclaimer and crop rotation, as well as a couple of Legolas's quick reflexes. This is a deck list from Alli, who is basically my go-to person for lands. I always see what they're playing and they're always doing well with lands. I'll definitely put their contact details, like Twitter or whatever, in the description so you can check out what they're up to, because that is where I go if you're looking to play lands decks, to be honest. So what does our build do a little bit differently? Well, we have these brainstorms. Brainstorm is a really interesting tool, and we have lots of ways of searching in the form of Reclaimer and crop rotation, as well as fetch lands. So we should be able to shuffle brainstorms quite effectively. And brainstorm plus Life from Loam is quite interesting. So we can brainstorm, and then on next draw we can just get rid of those cards on the top with a Life from Loam dredge. So things like that are really potent. And with multiple Life from Loams, we can dredge a whole bunch in one turn with a brainstorm too. I don't really need to explain to you why brainstorm's a good card. It is fantastic. So the rest of what this deck's doing, we've got a bunch of acceleration. We've got some ways of controlling the board and sometimes winning the game in the form of Urza Saga, which can also be a tutor for Expedition map, which then tutors for something else. And we control the board with Maze of Ith and Wastelands. And we have lots of ways of finding all our pieces here. And yeah, we're doing land stuff, really. Karakas and Tabernacle can also do some work, as can the Blast Zone, and the Bojuka Bog's a really nice silver bullet to have for some matchups. Sideboard-wise, we've got some Blue Blasts, got some Spell Pierce, which is a tool that lands decks don't often get to use. So we're jamming into it now. A couple of Mindbreak Traps for some of these combo decks can turn 1 bop us. A couple of Submerge for opposing Marit Lages, but can also bounce out a Murktide or something if they're playing the rug builds of Delver. 4 pieces of Graver Hate in the form of Surgical Extraction, and a couple of Force of Vigor to smash down some artifact decks. This is a really interesting build to me, because back in the day I used to play blue-green lands. It looked a lot different to this. There was no Thespian stage back then, or Urza Saga, or any of these good tools. We were sort of slowly grinding people out, but it used to have like an intuition package and even run Jace the Mind Sculptor and stuff. So I'm a big fan of blue-green lands, and this is probably the best modern iteration of it you can get these days, so I'm excited to give it a whirl. Right, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more content from December, and let's just get into it. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past, so why not give them a try? Alright, our opening hand for game 1 does not have access to green mana. It's a shame, because if, let's say, this Maze of Ith or this Tabernacle was a green mana source, this is probably a keep, but we're going to have to throw this one back. Yeah, this hand seems fine for what we're doing. We can assemble a combo pretty quickly. Then we'll keep this, and it's probably the Blast Zone that goes here. That's a much more situational card than just Wastelands, where we can just go, nope, to our opponents. So let's see what our opponent's up to over here. A Chrome Mox, so we could be looking at some sort of initiative deck, or a mono-red Stompy style deck. Blood Moons could be in our future here. A Solitude, so we're looking at mono-white initiative. White initiative, possibly red-white initiative. Red-white is more likely, because that's kind of the better version, I believe. Yep, there's a Caves of Chaos Adventurer. So we don't have the most amount of time in this game. So if we play out the Reclaimer now, then they bash us for 7. Then next turn we play stage and flip a card, and then we take 7 plus 5. So we'd have taken 19 damage, and we still won't have a 20/20 necessarily. Okay, this game is almost certainly over. It's kind of the power of Caves of Chaos Adventurer there. A crop rotation. Okay, that is something that we can do. The problem is, if we want to crop rotate now, we will lose our only green source to do so, to get like a maze. So I think we are supposed to play out our Reclaimer, and then next turn, get the Maze of Ith with a crop rotation to try and keep ourselves alive. If our opponent stumbles on... Well, they're not going to stumble because they've got a land in hand, but if they don't necessarily play anything, then maybe we can start stripping some lands out from them, but I don't think we have time for that. I think we're going to be turning our Wasteland into a Maze of Ith to keep ourselves alive long enough. Yep, so they're going for the quick clock here. We are very much under the gun. This is the sort of red-white initiative deck firing on all cylinders. When it makes a 4-drop on turn 1, it's going to beat a lot of people due to the nature of how powerful the initiative mechanic is. Alright. Susan Dungeoneer on top. Yikes. And we know they've got a land in hand, so they can play this off of the Caves of Chaos Adventurer here. How are we supposed to beat this? We don't have anything like a glacial chasm to reach for to just keep ourselves alive. Right, so played a plateau. So if we Maze of Ith, instead of taking 7, we'll be taking 3 to 4 damage. But we're going to be a long way from winning the game here. And I get to draw an additional card next turn, and then go into the archives. I don't really know what we're supposed to draw to get us out of this one. Like, Tabernacle isn't going to help us here. If we play a Wasteland, turn it into a Maze of Ith, we get hit by this, and then we get hit by... I think we're just done here. Like, the turn 1 initiative is too strong. Initiative's a very good mechanic against land-style decks because we can't really interact with it that efficiently. So we're going to want ways of blowing up things like Megs of the Moon, so that's Blue Elemental Blast and Hydro Blast. Merge not really going to do any work. Force of Vigor has text. Is it the sort of text we want in this matchup, though? I'm inclined to think it is. The Legolas's quick reflexes is kind of interesting, but we can trim a Bojuka Bog. That's an easy cut. We want a Boseiju. The Karakas sometimes has text, so I'm happy to have that. Mazes, yep. Tabernacle can actually do a little bit of work here. That's fine. So what are we looking at? We probably don't have the most amount of time to be dredging Life and Loam all the time, so maybe we trim 1 Life and Loam. That gives us 2 more slots to play with here. If we want to include all these cards, which I think we do. We kind of want the Force of Vigor, because if they're running Chalice, they can Chalice on 1, and then moon us out, and then we're just absolutely cooked. So what do I want here? Maybe it's Brainstorms that go, or is it the Legolas's quick reflexes? Like the way Legolas's quick reflexes lets our turbo Dark Depths plan actually succeed. So I think we probably do want those. Maybe we'll trim a couple of Brainstorms here because we don't have the time to be setting up and grinding with it. Maybe that's wrong, but this is my first time playing this particular build. But I think the logic there is sound. We kind of want to just have a good start rather than trying to dig for things because we're not going to have the time to be digging for things. That's why I don't think Life and Loam and Brainstorm are optimal here. Obviously, Brainstorm is relatively cheap, so we can just play that on a turn with a spare bit of mana and get it going that way. Ideally, we're looking for hands that can start making Saga tokens on 2, or ideally 2020s on turn 2, that sort of jam. Or we can lock up all their things, but we still have to worry about the initiative ticking down and killing us. Alright, so this hand is relatively quick here. So we can keep this. So we can get a Trop here is probably best, because we already have the Mox Diamond to play around Wasteland. Not Wasteland, but Blood Moon. Play this one out. Play this one out. We'll get rid of our Karakas. Our Thespian stage is just better here. Right, so this goes away. And then we will jam this guy. And then we can get a basic if we really need to. We're not a million miles away from being able to make a 2020. Okay, there is an Ancient Tomb. There is a Chrome Mox. So we're hoping they go for like a big Caves of Chaos Adventurer play and we can just Hydro Blast out of the way. 4th Eolingus. Yep, so this Chrome Mox is tapping for both of their colours. If this is the Magus, we just float a blue. Or we just... Okay, yeah, we're just going to crack this for a Trop. Actually, I'm just thinking if we... Yeah, we have an easy route to making a 2020 here, right? So we can float a green here and then turn this into a Dark Depths with no counters on. Yeah, that seems fine. And then we can Hydro Blast that guy out of the way. And that way we'll still have 2 mana for activating our Elvish Reclaimer next turn. So this can resolve. Just going to get Dark Depths here. Alright, so we'll go and play this Thespian stage. Is that the right one, or do we want the Yavimaya? Having green mana afterwards might be more useful. Like, it's just getting tapped anyway. Does it matter too much? I guess we'll play this one. Okay. And then we'll just Hydro Blast this in our opponent's turn. Make a 2020 and have a great time. Because it shuts them off of 4 mana for a turn as well. We are potentially playing into a Pyroblast here, but these decks tend not to run big on the Pyroblast front. So you tap out of all your red mana, so no Pyroblast hit us. Chalice of the Void. Okay, so now we go destroy target opponent if it's red. Oh, we're supposed to hold priority and float mana here. Whoops. Yeah, we have messed this turn up slightly, which we forgot to float our mana here. Hopefully this doesn't cost us. If they have a Solitude here, that's pretty annoying. Although they just wait for us to go to end of turn and then Solitude it when we don't have 2 mana up for our Reclaimer. So it's not necessarily that much of a misplay. If they wait for us to untap before trying to remove this, then we are in very good shape. Let me just pay our land. Go to tax. Can I bash you for 20 of your finest life points, please, opponent? They said yes, which is very nice of them. Okay, liking having Hydro Blast in our deck. I think we're just going to go back in as we've sideboarded here. Seem to work okay. I think we do want to be more on the turbo plan rather than the slow grinding plan here. Although there are definitely games where the slow grinding plan can get us there. So the hand we've got here does eventually win the game, but it doesn't do anything for a while. And Legacy isn't a form where you can just sit back, so I'm going to mulligan this one. A little bit more business. This constitutes business. We will keep this. And one thing has to go back. I think it's probably the blue elemental blast here. We're probably leading out on Forest, Mox Diamond, put the Dark Depths away, and then Life from Loam. Chalice for 1. Okay, that's definitely what we're doing. Lots of Chalice of the Void out today. Right, let's play this. Let's start cooking. We're going to leave our graveyard up here because it's going to be a very important zone for us this game. What flavour of Chalice of the Void deck is our opponent? Are they going to be prisoning us? Are they going to be initiativing us? Initiating? Maybe that's better. Anyway. Sorry, what am I on about? This is still game... This is still round 1. It's still the same deck. Sorry, ignore me there. They just took so long for the sideboarding to go through. I thought we'd finish that game. Ignore me. We are still against the initiative deck. Right, so we're going to see a Maze of the Moon here. Yep. So we need to find Boseiju and we need to find one of our blue blasts. Shot will dredge this. That wasn't the one. So we now have this. So if we can get rid of the Maze of the Moon in any way, then we can start doing some work. So it's a case of, do we want to keep dredging life from the Loam until we find the Boseiju to get rid of the Chalice and then start looking for the blue blast? Or do we want to try and draw the blue blast first? We do have 2 blue blasts, so I think statistically we're supposed to be dredging life from the Loam. But we could also run into a Force of Vigor here and just take out their Chalice. But I think we've probably lost. Maybe we're supposed to keep the Hydro Blast to start with. My brain forgot that this was still round 1. I think that maybe sideboard slightly awkwardly. Not sideboard, mulligan slightly awkwardly. Are we supposed to? I think we're... No, because we have Force of Vigor as well as a draw. Okay. That's a dead draw. Might as well go get back our island. Still making land drops. Can't play any of our 1-drops because of the Chalice. Well, we can play them, but they'll just go straight to the bin. That's not going to help us out. So this turn coming, they can have 4 mana. Yeah, I think not keeping that Hydro Blast was a complete mistake. My brain was just all over this shop for some reason. Alright. Do you want to dredge? I think we don't, because if we can hit... I was going to say, if we can hit the Force of Vigor, it's so good for us here. Let's play our land. So, Force of Vigor, Boseiju, and Hydro Blast, Blue Blast are things. Now, there is a Blue Blast on the bottom of our library. So, we could do some Life and Loaming. But we're going to need to get rid of this Chalice before we can do any shuffling. Maybe we're supposed to race to the Boseiju. We only have 1 Boseiju. I guess we have 1 Otawara as well, which can bounce the Chalice. Maybe that's worth doing. Right, we're going to keep taking these beats from this Maze of the Moon. So we have 2 hits to find with this. Or we have like 3 hits to find by drawing a regular card. Maybe we are supposed to dredge the Loam. That wasn't the one, was it? Do it this way. We didn't even play the land out. That was a mistake as well. Alright, we'll play out our Thespian stage here. Yeah, I think we're going to keep dredging this until we get to our 2 outs. Maybe we should have been doing that to begin with. Not very happy with the way I've played this particular game, to be honest. It's amazing our opponent hasn't played anything out here either. They just had this Magus. So their hand's probably full of like Solitudes and they're just going to use them as removal if we ever remove their Magus. I left the as a Saga in there because we'd have to discard anyway and might as well discard the Saga at this point. Alright, we've got 5 turns before this Maze of the Moon kills us. Alright, now this is where we die next turn, right? So they hit us for 2 this turn. Then they hit us for 9 on the next turn. So our next draw has to be better than any of the cards we can draw in our deck. Suppose if we can Boseiju, then we can maybe brainstorm into something useful. So I guess we are dredging the Loam here. We didn't find anything. Nope. I think we played that game pretty poorly, if I'm being perfectly honest with myself there. I think the mulligan was wrong, and I also think we should have been dredging earlier. But what I will say is we didn't actually dredge over the things that would have made a difference here. We didn't find any of our 4 removal spells for the Chalice. So even if we'd have kept the Hydroblast, it wouldn't have actually made a difference because they had the turn 1 Magus here. Yeah, a bit awkward. Not happy with how I played that one. I don't think it necessarily impacts the overall outcome there, but still unhappy with myself on that one. Let's go to round 2. Actual round 2 this time. Alright, so kind of relying on this Brainstorm to do a lot with this opener. I mean, it's already a mulligan because we have 2 Yavimaya. I think we can do better. Yeah, I like this one a bit more. We can... I'd love a second green source, to be honest, but that's not what we have. Do you want to play on a basic here and ship the Brainstorm, or do you want to ship the Otawara and try and find some stuff next turn? I think that's better here. Ship the Otawara. I'll be honest with you, I really want to go and get a tropical island here, so we can turn on a Brainstorm, but it does play into Wasteland in an awkward fashion. So what I wouldn't want to see here would be a forcible, because they're less likely to Wasteland us if we already have a creature on board. Right, no Wasteland. Alright, we're going to see a Ponder here, I believe. There it is. They did not shuffle their library. Okay. Alright, let's cast... actually, let's play a land first. Let's cast an Exploration here. Alright, then I think we Wasteland their Trop. And we play this out. And I think we Brainstorm now that we're not going to get caught by days, and then we can do this in our upkeep. Right, Thespian Stage is nice. This is nice too. I don't think I want another Exploration. So we'll put the Exploration on top, and then the Wasteland. And then if we want the Wasteland, we can draw it. Otherwise, we can activate our Reclaimer in the upkeep. Misty Rainforest being cracked. Basic or non-basic opponent? A non-basic. Okay. We want that Wasteland then. So we're probably playing Urza, Saga, and Wasteland. And then we can bash for 3 if we want to. They chose not to shuffle their library. Let's play this. Get rid of this. And get our Urza Saga online. Now we can either attack for 3 here, which is preferable if our opponent's like a Doomsday deck, which they sometimes are splashing that. But we kind of want to shuffle this Exploration off the top of our library, so probably going to fire one of these into something else. So I think we're probably just going to hold up our Reclaimer into another Wasteland or something of that ilk, depending on what our opponent is up to. I'll get rid of Trop here. Are we going to get Dark Ritual Opposition Agent? A Stifle. Alright. Fair enough. We don't get to shuffle that Exploration. Alright, let's just keep beating. Yeah, we should have just beat last turn. Obviously, we didn't know they were running Stifle. It's kind of an unusual card to see in a lot of decks, to be honest. So this could be some sort of like Bug Stifle Nort deck. In which case things like Blast Zone will be quite potent. But we get to start cranking out some lands in a second. Bowmasters can kill the first one. That's what they're down for. A Murktide Regent, you say. Okay. That's acceptable. Let's make a friend. Let's see what we draw. A Life from the Loam. Interesting. Is that better? I think that's better than making a guy here. So we get the Expedition map here. I think we cast Life from the Loam, and we want Tropical Island is nice here. I'll take 2 Wastelands as well to cut our opponent off of mana altogether. They might daze this just so they can... Right, no, they didn't daze it. Sure. So, play a Wasteland, play a Wasteland. Let's take our opponent off of all their mana. And then we pass the turn. So they can hit us for 6, but we can crack them back for 5. And we do win that race, just, I believe, because we are on 19. A Bayou. Okay. We could have played that turn a little bit cleaner by playing out the Exploration as well. We'll take some damage here. We're just on the old Loam plan at this point. Let's play this out. And we will cast Life from the Loam like a Wasteland. A Wasteland. Saga. Okay, so you play a Wasteland here. Hit this. Cycling a Lorien revealed, sure. Perhaps exploration. So we can Wasteland them again, or we can just get this Saga pumping. So this will put our opponent to 8. And they can put us to 7. But then we can just go get Tabernacle with our expedition map, provided we don't get stifled. Stifle would be good here. If we dredge life from the Loam, we could hit the Tabernacle without having to play around a stifle. So we can put a Dark Depths into play. That doesn't do amazing things around a stifle. If we crack this expedition map now, got the stifle here. They did not have the stifle. Okay, so we can go and get the Maze of Ith if we want it. We can play our Maze of Ith. Go attacks. Attack for some. We could copy our Maze of Ith here, so that we have it for next turn. Or we could assemble the big boy. We don't want that Misty Rainforest here. Let's play Dark Depths. A Brainstorm is pretty good. We're hoping to avoid Wasteland and them having something that removes a card from their graveyard. Unsure if they can have both of those on the amount of mana they have. What have you got from your opponent? Attacking into our Maze of Ith. Surprised early when they had the option they didn't get the basic island. That was interesting to me. Right, we'll just dredge life from the Loam with 2 explorations in play. Things don't get much better for us. Do we want to make a guy here? What does that actually give us if we make a guy? 1, 2, 3. So this mana makes us a 20/20. So we could make this guy. I still have some. Yeah, I think we should just make a guy here. Get rid of this and this for it. I'm going to see another stifle. We're cracking the Misty Rainforest. There is Underground Sea. I know we have another Wasteland in hand, so. An Orcish Bowmaster's pinging our 1/1 construct. I don't think it's worth getting Sejiri Steppe for this. We get a Mox Diamond. Pitch this. Bonus Thespian stage. Play out this. Let me just waste on this. If they have some sort of counter spell for our Loam, that's kind of annoying for us. So we just want to make a 20/20 here. And then we can do that every single turn until our opponent dies. Seems like an alright way of winning the game. Alright, so we're going to see that stifle that they've been telegraphing for a while, I think. So we'll keep this one. No stifle. Okay, if they let us untap here. Alright, so we don't want to dredge life from the Loam in case we hit the Sejiri Steppe. So we're kind of using that as our way of winning this game. If they try and remove this, we can fetch it up. Alright, so now they're just letting the Murktide go. Cast life from Loam, targeting Thespian stage, Dark Depths. There's a Saga, I think is fine. Play out some extra lands. Alright. I think we have this one sewn up. Now we could have copied the Urza Saga then, we just don't really need to. Our clock is a bit lower than our opponent, which is why they're making us play this up. Alright, so we're looking at some sort of bug mid-rangey looking deck here. So Submerge can do stuff in this matchup. Spell Piercers can sometimes do stuff here, but we're not really looking for anything. I'm not big on Brainstorm in the face of a Bowmaster's deck. It's just unnecessary damage that we can give our opponent. So I think I would rather have some Submerge when they get their Bayous and a couple of Spell Pierce. That's probably acceptable. We don't really need anything else. Karakas. They could be running something like Leovold, which maybe we would want to bounce with Karakas and then Wasteland them off of it. So I think I'm going to play it like this. This hand seems eminently keepable. There is a Wasteland from our opponent. Understood. Jam one of these bad boys. Right. We'll get rid of this. Play this. Let's get this guy going. They can't play a Daze. So we're just going to jam our things into play. Alright, an island cycle over there. Underground Sea. And there it is. A Fatal Push. Sure, that's pretty good. They can't stifle us here. So we could go and Wasteland them with our Expedition map. Which I don't hate. Well, this can definitely find us our combo, but then so can the crop rotations when the time comes. Right, then we're going to do this when they don't have stifle mana. What do we want here? We can get a Wasteland and hit them. If we get a non-basic, our opponent is just going to waste it. So I think we're supposed to just get a Wasteland for ourselves. And then start this trainer rolling. Another Lorien revealed. I need to be a bit quicker on our clock. Okay, so there's a tropical island. Okay, our opponent has life from the Loam. That is an issue for us, potentially. Okay. Exploration, not the most helpful right now. Truth be told. Let's play out this exploration. I don't even want to play out this Dark Depths into the Wasteland. Yikes, this is going to be difficult. Like, we can try and Bojuka Bog. Maybe we're just supposed to scoop this one up so we have more time for the final game. I think we're going to play a turn or two more and see how things pan out for us. Maybe we do want some surgicals over the like spell pierces so we can take our opponent's life from Loam or Wastelands. Right. So our opponent's got a decent amount of mana going on here. With a Bloom command. Yeah, I think we're just going to skip this one up and save more time for the final game. So I also think we want these things. I don't think we want all 4 surgicals. I think we want 2 surgicals. Okay, so do I think Submerge or Spell Pierce is better? Submerge is pretty good against the Murktide. Spell Pierce is a nice little trick to have. Alright, let's split the difference. Maybe that's horrible. But like, they both have uses here. Yeah, this is a hand I can jive with. Let's keep this. Not sure about the Mox Diamond right from the off. I think I'm more into Cradle for Reclaimer, Mox Diamond, and then Reclaimer it. I think that's better than holding up the quick reflexes. You've just got a nice amount of stuff underneath a potential daze or whatever. Now, we might be fixing our opponent's colours with this Yavimaya, but I think we're allowed to indulge with that one. So next turn we can life from the Loam and sort of start our engine going, and if that fails, then we can have Reclaimer goodness. Right, interesting they're just playing out the Wasteland like that. So if we life from the Loam here and our opponent Wastelands us in response, that's pretty bad. Like, if they Wasteland and then counterspell our thing, it has to be a force. I do want to hit another land drop here. I think we're just going to get in it now. Force of negation would be pretty devastating here. Right, no, we're just in. Okay, and I think we can attack here. We've got Legolas's quick reflexes if we want it. I think that's better than deploying the exploration just yet. Lorien revealed. Yep, our opponent's getting some island cycling going. Surgical extraction on our life from the Loam. That's pretty good. At least we got the land out of it, though. Makes exploration in our hand a little bit suspect. Okay. That is not great for us. A ponder, okay. So not going to have anything like a stifle. So if we want to be doing things with our Reclaimer, now is probably a reasonable time to do it. We do still have this Wasteland to worry about too. And Loam also stops us from having an easy way of making these creatures 3/4s. Them knowing about the swift reflexes is an interesting dynamic as well. They want to Wasteland our Yavimaya. Guess we float green. That's not great for us. That's not great for us either. We do need to start doing some reclaimery things. We want to do it now while we can. Sacrifice the stage. I think we're probably just getting a basic forest here. Feels like we're going to get Wasteland. The other option here is to get a Bojuka Bog. So our opponent can't put Murktides into play or do anything with Life from the Loam. I think that's pretty acceptable here. Alright, with the Bloom command, this is something we did factor in. But we do have a... Okay, they've returned the Wasteland as well. But we do have the Mox Diamond, so we can access some coloured mana again. Another Mox Diamond then, that's not the one. This also takes us off of the mana we wanted. Our opponent is doing a better job of being the lands player than we are. Which is not how I planned this game to go. Our opponent's taking a long time thinking about this one, which is probably them deciding how much they want to ruin us. If they Wasteland us, they do give us 2/3/4s, which is not nothing. An Uro is pretty good if they can get this up and running. So they're going to do this and they can put in the Wasteland here and take us off of a land if they want to. And now they're gaining life ahead of our Reclaimers. And they know that our Bojuka Bog is gone and we can't get it back because we don't have any life from the Loams left. I would describe our situation as somewhat dire. A Maze of Ith. Okay. Right, we're going to play this, put a land in our graveyard here. They might sacrifice, they might wasteland us before this resolves. Because then we won't have a land to sacrifice. But we get to attack for 6, which is not more than Uro does, sadly. Yep, so this will give them access to an Uro this turn. It's going to put them up to 12. So Karakas, pretty good draw here. Not an amazing draw, but pretty good. I would take it. We were too eager getting that Bojuka Bog earlier. And a Ponder for good measure too. Okay. Karakas would be a start. So we can go find a Karakas, which isn't the worst. That means they're going to get one hit in and get some goods going. Alright, Wasteland. This ruins our Karakas plan. Our opponent's played pretty well so far, so I'm not expecting them to... Okay, we'll sacrifice one of our guys. So we can't really use this Reclaimer because they'll just wasteland whatever we get. So they're going to get this Shoulder's Edict patched. Yeah, our opponent's got some taste here. I don't think I can continue playing this game. Yeah, our opponent just outground us. Like, they stopped our engine that we were kind of relying on. And we were just sort of left floundering. And then eventually just... When it comes to playing like a normal game, they've got a lot more normal spells. You know, they've got their edicts, they've got their cantrips, they've got things like Uro, whereas we're a little bit more just trying to assemble our stuff. And if they take our engine away, then we're in trouble. So a bit awkward. We're 0-2. Not really the start we're looking for. Let's see if we can pick some wins up on the back half. This hand doesn't need much, does it? You know me. I'm not one to turn down a potential turn 2 2020. Just throw this down. Get rid of that. Grab this. So we can crop rotate if they try and wasteland our stage here. Otherwise, we can try and brainstorm into another land that we can then turn into a Yavimaya. Sulfur Vent. Okay, that does tell me what my opponent is doing. Interesting. They're probably on the Mississippi River deck. So we could just wasteland lock our opponent out of the game instead, and that's probably going to be an easier way of winning the game, in all likelihood. We've already got the Dark Depths, so we can bury this Dark Depths. And then put the Loam on top. So float here. Tap for green. Crop rotate away this Thespian stage. Go and get ourselves a Wasteland. Wasteland them out. Life from the Loam back are things. Alright. Yeah, they've had enough because we've assembled the Wasteland lock and they need to get to 6 mana to do anything. Alright. This is the matchup where our blue spells like this and our Mindbreak Traps are actually pretty good. I don't think we want to go into Surgical Extraction, like try and deal with the first thing and then distract them. I don't think that's how we're going to win this one. We're not going to need Reflexes here. Karakas isn't going to be great because we just kind of need to do our thing, really. So get rid of that one. Blast Zone isn't going to do anything in this matchup. Maze of Ith, potentially, if things go a bit awry, but I'm not really expecting that. Sejiri Steppe can sometimes have use. I don't think Tabernacle's great either, because they're just going to wombo combo us. As a Saga's Fangs, at least it gives us a win condition. Otawara doesn't bounce lands. Probably not where we want to be there either. Although it's a blue source for casting our blue spells. Maybe it's Maze of Ith that goes here. Something along those lines seems fine to me. This gets us a Wasteland on turn 2 that can only activate on turn 3. That might be too slow for this matchup, in all honesty. I think we can do better. Alright. We can keep this. What are we throwing away? Might be the Dark Depths here, in all honesty. Well, that's a land we can crop rotate away. Maybe it's the Reclaimer? Is it the Brainstorm? It's the Brainstorm. We're just going to wasteland twice. And then hopefully that'll be good enough. Like, get some pressure, Wasteland them a bunch. So they can go off on turn 2 if they have the Tybalt's Trickery, but we can Spell Pierce a Tybalt's Trickery, which they will not see coming. Am I supposed to Wasteland them first? I think so. A Dwarven Mine. That one has to sacrifice to make any mana. And Urza Saga. Okay, I think we go for a Tropical Island first and try and Spell Pierce the Tybalt's Trickery. If that happens this turn, and then otherwise next turn we can crop rotate and Wasteland our opponent. Just a tapped one of those. Would like to find another Trop in an ideal world. So they're probably going for a 6 mana play. Which means, which of these are we getting rid of? It's probably the Thespian stage here. Let's get rid of this. Right, they keep pumping out lands, which is kind of what their deck does, unfortunately. An Otawara. That allows us to hold up a blue source and play our Reclaimer. Throes of Chaos. Alright, this is excellent news. They've sacrificed both of the lands to put this Throes of Chaos on the stack. So we are going to have probably a reasonable time here. They might scoop to the Spell Pierce. Tybalt's Trickery. We will Spell Pierce that Tybalt's Trickery. Our opponent no longer has permanents in play. Right, they got Tinder Farm over there. What does this make? It does make red mana. So what are we doing here? I think we play out the Urza Saga. 3 cards left in our opponent's hand. So we crop rotate for a Wasteland. And we Elvish Reclaimer for a Wasteland. Just keep saying no to our opponent's lands. At some point things might work out. Hickory Woodlot. That makes green green. A Misty Rainforest. Maybe we'll nail this one. We'll play out this guy. Play this out. Crack for 3. Opponent spends a lot of time without any permanents in play. That's probably good for us. Oh, they missed a land drop. That's very good for us. I don't really want to draw a Tropical Island here, so we're going to crack this. Put Tropical Island into our hand, into our play. A Yavimaya. If we play this and attack with one guy, we can make a 20/20 next turn. We turn one of these into a Thespian stage. And then play the Cradle. Alright, they've had enough of us wastelanding them all the live long day. I was definitely worried that we would eventually run out of wastelands and they would have lands, but we managed to dodge it. Alright, welcome to round 4. Yeah, our hand plays magic, that's for sure. We'll keep this. We can have, like, pretty over the top turn. Play this. Get rid of this. Play this. Target these 2. We're comboing off. Okay, our opponent has had enough of that. Interesting. They scooped with 7 cards in hand. What are we supposed to do about that? I don't really know what indication that gives us. Makes us think that they may be more on the fair spectrum, which is kind of what our main deck is set up to beat. So I think we just run back in again. This Tabling hand seems alright. I think we can keep this. Wonder what our opponent is playing. A basic island with a lovely white border. They pondered and didn't shuffle. Mishra's Bauble. Are we just looking at some sort of fair Delver deck? Interesting. So I think we're going to lead off on a basic forest here. We don't want to get wastelanded off our only green mana. So we'll get the basic forest. And I think we're just going to be in Elvish Reclaimer territory here. Force of Will. Pitching a Murktide. Yes, we're just on like a fair Delver strategy. I understand why they scoot to our very powerful start. Alright. A Delver of Secrets. I can live with that. Brainstorm is not really where we're at right now. Do I want to play a Blast Zone as a way of blowing up Delvers in the future? I think I'm into that. So we play this, we're playing around days. We'll jam ourselves a little friend. They're cracking here. Is this going to be Black Source into Fatal Push? Or is this going to be a Lightning Bolt here? A Brainstorm in response. Alright, and our Reclaimer resolved. That might mean they just found a Lightning Bolt and they know it's the cleanest way of dealing with it. Alright, this Brainstorm is going to flip their Delver with a Daze. Alright, that's good to know about. Blood Moon, you say? Okay. That is potentially an awkward one for us, isn't it? Can we race them just with our Reclaimer? They can't put a Murktide into play with their current setup. It's kind of interesting to me. So if we play a Thespian stage here and float a couple of mana, and then we will crop rotate away the Blast Zone. We'll go and get a basic island here. Then we can brainstorm away some cards we don't want, and then we can Elvish Reclaimer. We know they have a Daze, but we have that covered. They might choose to stop us Reclaimer-ing. Okay, they did not choose to do that. Definitely don't need two of these. Neither of these really do anything, especially the Tabernacle. So I guess we lose that one. And then we will sacrifice our Thespian stage here. So we can get a Boseiju and then kind of two-step this. So we get a Boseiju, then we crop rotate away, then we bring it back with the Life from Loam. I think that's reasonably acceptable. It's a bit slow, perhaps, but we can get us out from underneath this position we're in. Like a Wasteland over there. Exploration, that can be useful later on. I think the plan here is, okay, so we'll float off of this, crop rotate away the Boseiju. Very lengthy process here. I think we're going to want things like Maze of Ith when the time comes here. Like we could have the Dark Depths so that we can just make our 2020 and then we have the ability to combo again. I think that's pretty reasonable too. Let's jam and attack for 3 here. We'll play out a Maze of Ith. Next turn we can Life from Loam, then the turn after we can do our Boseiju. Now this can unlock our opponent's spells as well. Ponder, sure. Alright. Actually, how many lands? So we want to attack with our Reclaimer first. Make sure we get our 3 points in. And I would like to return Boseiju, Thespian stage, and probably Misty Rainforest here. Or is it the Blast Zone? I think it's the Rainforest. This will be a very good spot for a Force of Negation. Yep. Do we play this Bojuka Bog so we have more mana? Or do we save this so we can deal with a Murktide the turn we blow this up? I think that's probably what we're supposed to do with it. Alright, so this is going to put us to 7. We are very much winning this race. And, okay. Another Delver. Which means we're probably supposed to hold back with our Reclaimer now. A Mox Diamond, that is an excellent draw. So I'd like Boseiju, Blast Zone, and Stage. So let's play a Mox Diamond. I think we're pitching the stage here. Then we blow this up now. Then we play our Bojuka Bog, make sure they can't do a Murktide. You got a basic in there? It's a basic land type, so they can get whatever. Okay. Are they going to Wasteland our Dark Depths? I expect they probably will. Yeah, that's fine. Play Bojuka Bog. Say no to their graveyards, so they can't do Murktides. We get to Maze of Ith, one of their creatures. And we can just redeploy the Dark Depths combo next turn. What have you got? There's another Blood Moon. We can go through this loop again. Okay, it was a land. So we don't take any damage this turn. Right. I think we have crossed the threshold of this game now. Yep, let me dredge that sweet Life from the Loam. So let's get back Thespian stage, Dark Depths, and an Otawara. Then we can play this Exploration. Then we can play out this Dark Depths and this Thespian stage. And we can pass the turn. Feels like they need a Surgical Extraction as like step 1 here. And even that's probably not going to be good enough. Alright, no flip from the Delver. So they're going to crack their fetch hands. They've got a chance of drawing some gas. Right, so it's just the Insectile Aberration coming in. And we will Maze of Ith it. Do we need to dredge this now? Probably. Doesn't hurt. Get to make additional land drops every turn. So if we get back our Wasteland, Boseiju, and Misty Rainforest here, then we can Wasteland their Wasteland, and if they use it in response, we make a 20/20. A song and dance you've seen many times before on my channel, and hopefully many times more to come. What is the one card in your hand, opponent? A daze. I'll pay here. So they want a Wasteland now. Yeah. And that's fine. I get to do everything we want next turn anyway. Let's just play out this Blast Zone now and get that ready to rock and roll. And we can pass it. So if something goes really wrong for us, we can just blow up all the 1-drops. That would include our own exploration, but that's probably not an issue. What have you got for us, Delver? I think if we'd have played I think we had a land we could play first before doing that Life Alone. That would have made more sense to play around the days. My opponent's just grinding down our clock where they can. Perfectly reasonable. Chess clock is there for a reason. It's part of the game. Let's just stretch this Life Alone, be done with it. Right, I would like the depths and the Wasteland and this. Dark Depths. Play out the Wasteland here. Wasteland our opponent's Tropical Island. Alright, let's scoop it up. We've got 2 Wastelands every turn as well as a 20/20. Land style decks, in my experience, are very good against Delver. And we kind of showcase that quite nicely here. Alright, let's go to the final match. We are looking for the 3-2 now. I think we've put some wins together, so that's nice. So let's see if we can get a positive record. Alright, the opening hand for the final game has the Wasteland lock in it. We have a Tabernacle to go with it to clear the board afterwards. This seems like a keep to me. Would love to draw an exploration on turn 1, but we'll see how this game progresses. Alright, is this going to be like a Mavericky style deck? In which case our Tabernacle can do some real work? No, okay. It could still be a Maverick style deck, but I don't know. My vibes are telling me Infect. Play this out. Let's play this Mox Diamond out. I think we're probably getting rid of the Bojuka Bog. Crack this for... I think it's just for a forest right now. And we'll get these back. Alright. It's our opponent's turn. The second Tropical Island. A Blighted Agency. I told you they were playing Infect. I just had the read on it. Sometimes you get the read on it and you just have to go with it. There's a Ponder. They shuffled off of their Ponder. That means we're less likely to be dead next turn. Sure, I think we'll take this Life of Loam now. What do we find? So, best draw for us is probably Exploration. So I think we Brainstorm and see if we can hit it. Alright, I don't mind the crop rotation either. Maze of Ith is nice. That's one of the things we would get with the crop rotation here. So we're going to have to put some of these away. The Bojuka Bog we definitely don't want. And then whatever we don't put back we're going to be drawing anyway. So I'll put back a Yavimaya here. Actually we can crop rotate here, can't we? Well, we can try to crop rotate. It might not go exactly to our liking. Alright, we could be dead this turn, and they might have ways of giving their guy hexproof, so our Maze of Ith doesn't do anything. We're not going to block with anything, because we don't have any blockers. I would like to say no to this. We're just in with that. Interesting. I'm very reluctant to cast a crop rotation into a daze here. I think we're going to wait till our turn. The top card of our library is a Yavimaya, and then there's a Bojuka Bog underneath it. Right, that guy. If we get a Wasteland here, pretty good. It's better than having a Yavimaya, but we'd have to lose our forest to do it. So but then we'd be drawing into something better. Sure, I'm down. I'm down to Clown. Let's see if we can shuffle that Brainstorm. Got another green source here. Right, so we're just in, are we? Wasn't an exploration, sadly. Right, we'll take out one of their tropical islands here. Brainstorm response. Sure. Are they going to try and daze their own Brainstorm? No, they're not. And then we're going to tie up all their mana using our Tabernacle. It's going to make it harder for them to play enough pump spells, potentially. Alright, they can save 2 of their creatures. We are very much putting the squeeze on our opponent here. Next turn we can wasteland them off another land. Right, they've had enough. Oops, sorry, I might have hit my mic there. Yep, so they've had enough here. So, what do we do against this deck? Submerge has some text. And the Spell Piercers have some text too. But I don't really like the other bits. Like, Force of Vigor can hit Inkmoth Nexus, but we're probably trying to hit Inkmoth Nexus in other ways anyway. Not convinced we want Karakas here. Not convinced we want the Bojuka Bog. Last zone, very good. Sejiri Steppe. We are very much the control. I don't think we want the Sejiri Steppe here either. Which means we probably don't want the quick reflexes, even though it is removal if we have Guy. So maybe we keep that just as a removal spell using our Reclaimer. But then we're looking for 2 cards to cut. And I do keep coming back to these quick reflexes as a thing that would be good to cut. So, sure, I think we'll get rid of those and try this. This is an interesting one. We don't actually have the island, but we can have a pretty good turn 1. I think we'll give this a go. Pretty sure the Elvish Reclaimer can do a lot of work. They're not really a deck big on removal. Not really going to have removal in this matchup either. Alright, they're going to play a Glistener Elf or they're going to play a Dork. We're going to play a Glistener Elf. So they could kill us as early as next turn. Not a thing that I'm a big fan of. What do we find? And there's a Saga. So I think we begin... Is it with the Exploration or is it with the Reclaimer here? I think it's Exploration. Then we play the Boseiju. Then we play the Reclaimer. Would love to have an island. Right, feels like we might be getting dazed here. Yep, there it is. Right, our opponent's turn. Tropical Island's back again. And a Ponder. That's not immediately dead, I'll take that. So we're not getting Invigorate, Berserk this turn. They did not shuffle the library though, so we might be dead next turn. So they're going to get a free bit of chip damage here, which is pretty strong. Like every point is quite a big deal. Now they might just have some Invigorates here, that's one. Right, they're just going for a cheeky 5 while they can. Well, they got 2 more. That would be good. Okay. Island. Life from the Loam. That's not an island, is it? So we could Wasteland them and hope that does something. Or we could Wasteland, rebuy the Wasteland. And play the Urza Saga. Alright, let's Wasteland this. And play this one out. And let's get back our Wasteland. And pass. So land, Invigorate can kill us here. But we're playing with the tools we've got to work with. Or do they not have a second land? Oh, that's pretty good news for us. So Invigorate does not work if they don't have a forest. Right, so this is going to start ticking along. We've already got 2 lands to play. I don't think we need this just yet. Well, it could find us an island, so I think we will dredge this. Did not find us an island. But we can find an island off of the thing next turn. The expedition map. So we've got a blocker now. Our opponent keeping a 1-lander against the Wasteland deck. Interesting. Like they did have a Ponder and it obviously just didn't find them a land, which is a shame. But they didn't shuffle their Ponder, which is also interesting. A Pendrell Haven. Interesting. So they can't Invigorate here. Are we Wastelanding right away? I think so. So they're just going to use this to pump their Glistener Elf right now, yeah. So we'll take 2 damage here if we don't block this. I don't think we do block. As sketchy as that could end up being for us. With no mana and no lands, they can't pump this. Right, let's make a guy. We've already got a life from Loam. Do we want to dredge one? What are we looking for here? I don't think we want to dredge just yet. Right, Blast Zone, that's quite nice. Right, let's make a guy here. Get Expedition Map. Play the Blast Zone. Let me crack this. You're going to get Tabernacle. That's probably better than an island here. Play this. Pass turn. They're going to lose their Glistener Elf. We can pay for our guys, then Life from Loam. This should be lights out. Yep. Alright. End of the match. End of the league. We finished with a respectable 3-2. Not an incredible result. Like, we did get bopped pretty hard by some Blood Moons. I did play very poorly in the first round, in the 3rd game. I don't think our plays actually ended up mattering, but we definitely massively reduced the chances we had to win that game. Even though we didn't draw the other half of the thing we needed, it was still a poor mulligan for sure. Anyway, so we finished with a 3-2. Let's talk about the deck. So, okay, it's changed my display of this deck, so bear with me a second. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbo Depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description. Right, so we have it all on screen now. That's good enough. So this deck kind of does the normal land stuff. So we have our explorations, we have our life in the Loams, but we only have a couple of Urza Saga. So we have less of the fair plan through the sagas than you would see in some regular lands decks. But we do get powerful things like Brainstorm. And what I like about Brainstorm is that when things are going wrong, like if your life in the Loam is getting taken away from you via surgicals or force of negations, Brainstorm can allow you to try and find some more action, right? Because our deck needs some sort of engine to keep going usually. So whether that's just like massively ramping out with explorations and doing some broken stuff, or, you know, having Elvish Reclaimer in a deck full of lands so we just get to have every land we want in play every turn. You know, these things are excellent. And I definitely think that's where we want to be with this sort of deck, and Brainstorm helping when we don't have those engines can kind of plug the gap a little bit. Although it does make us slightly worse against Bowmasters, which is a card that normally we just completely ignore. But we brought it out in the one matchup where that was relevant anyway, so it seems like a pretty easy thing to play around and mess with. I don't really think we need Legolas' quick reflexes. So if you watch my Turbo Depths content, you know my thoughts. So recently I was playing Life of the Loam in Turbo Depths as a way of getting round removal. So you basically, they remove your guy, you rebuy your combo. They remove your guy, you rebuy your combo. You just keep doing this. Whereas Legolas' quick reflexes is a card that we've now shifted to in Turbo Depths because this lets your one go that you have be more successful. But this deck is a deck that grinds really well. You know, we have the ability to go every turn. We're a 4 exploration deck and a 4 life in the Loam deck. So I don't think we really need something like a Legolas' quick reflexes to mess with our opponents' like removal against us, because we just go, okay, we'll just make another one. And that's kind of what our deck does. And we also have the sagas. Like, I think these might be better just as more Urza's sagas, or like one Urza saga, one Shadow Spear perhaps, or something like that. I'm not really sure we need the quick reflexes. But I did like the blue spells we had, even though it was just the Brainstorm, the sideboard, like the blue blasts felt really good because these are just clean answers to Blood Moon effects, which is an important thing to have access to in my opinion. As you saw, we got absolutely bodied by a Magus in one game because we do need our mana to work. Now we did also win the game because of our opponent's Magus. We used that as our thing to turn on our Dark Depths. But generally speaking, this deck is going to be worse at doing that than a Turbo Depths deck because a Turbo Depths deck is more dedicated to doing that one thing. Whereas this deck can sort of grind through a bit slowly and then find answers by, you know, grinding through with Boseijus and Life from the Loams. And then obviously it has the backup plan of the Urza Saga. But yeah, I did like this deck. It plays a bit differently to the blue-green deck I used to play, like, I want to say 12 years ago, a long time ago, something like that. So again, it does play very differently to those builds of old, but I think that's just because Legacy's moved on a lot in the last decade or so. So the things that were good then aren't really good enough now. Like Intuition is very fringe playable in Legacy these days, and certainly not in a deck like this. Although I do like the ability to just say, I'm going to get my Life from the Loam and 2 things I want. So you could Intuition maybe for Life from the Loam, Thespian Stage, Dark Depths. That's going to be very effective against some decks where you just get to make your 2020 over and over again from that point on. Alternatively, you can have other Intuition piles. So I wouldn't mind trying an Intuition pile deck. Although 3 mana is quite a lot these days. And if you don't have any of your accelerants, we do feel a little bit slow without our Exploration or Mox Diamond to sort of kick us up a notch. But nevertheless, I had a great time Wastelanding people. I am a big fan of Wasteland, and it's nice to Wasteland people into the absolute dust. I always used to play Ghost Quarter to really make sure I can remove all of our opponent's permanents back in the day. But again, that was before we had access to 2020s just flying around. But yeah, I think this deck is perfectly viable. This was a 5-0 list that Alli played, so if you want to check out their content, like I said, I'll link it in the description, and they are the go-to resource for lands in my opinion. That's where I always look for. They've also been playing some Slowgurk builds and some other cool stuff, but today we were just sort of Turbo Depths in a little bit more than a regular lands deck because, you know, we've got Reclaimers and Crop Rots and the quick reflexes, although we never cast a quick reflex and it never did anything. It rotted away in our hand one game, so I'm not really a fan of it in this deck. I don't think it's necessary. I think it is a reasonable card, but I think it has places. Like, I think it's good in Infect, I think it's good in Turbo Depths. I'm not really sure you want it anywhere else unless there's some weird little combo deck that I'm not thinking of. Maybe you want it in the very, very niche Infect deck that plays the guy that whenever you target it, it's like Rot Priest or something. Whenever you target it, they get a poison counter. Maybe that would be good there, because then you can protect your guy, no questions asked. But yeah, I don't think it's a thing you just want to throw into a deck just because it makes 2020s necessarily. Obviously, you know, Alli was just testing it out, and I believe on Twitter they said that they didn't find it particularly useful either. So, and their opinion on this deck is going to be far better than mine. All right, I think we're done for today. I hope you enjoyed a slightly slower take on a Depths deck compared to what we've been playing so far. We've had a lot of turbo stuff going on, but we've got some weird and wonderful stuff coming up, so stick around. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my Depths December content. And if you know anyone who is into 2020s in a big way, by all means, send them my way. I think I've got the content that they'll enjoy. All right, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.